Okay, hello everybody. This is your Power of Personas Director's Cut special. Big thank you to everyone that joined us at our webinar last night. We had so many questions, which was amazing. We didn't quite manage to get through them all. So we promised that we would come back to you with an update and some answers. So it's a little added extra just to cover off those questions that didn't quite get answered last night. So I'm going to ask some questions and both B and I are going to answer them. Let's see how we go with this. Right. First question then, B. I've got a good one for you here, actually. Great question from Sarah. Do you use the same methodology for creating personas for employees as you would do for customers? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess my starting point for that would be in exactly the same way that there are multiple ways that you can approach creating employee personas, there are even more ways for approaching how you might create customer personas. And because they're used more widely across the business, and often they emerge from different parts of the business, the data and the methods can be slightly different. They're often slightly more technical, more in depth. But on the whole, I would say that the methodology is the same. It's trying to understand groups of people and bring them to life through a persona, through a fictional representation, and then keep that alive and keep using them and applying it in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would support all of that. I mean, you know, our specialism is very much in the employee side, albeit we have had exposure and got involved in the customer side a little bit. But yeah, I think spot on. Great answer there, B. Okay, got a great question here from Matthew Hall. He's asked us for suggestions on how we could use personas during culture change programs, for example, driving quality or encouraging innovative thinking. So you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the dog's got some thoughts on it as well. I'm going to take this in two ways. So I sort of alluded to it really briefly yesterday, and I've seen them being used as part of a culture change program to bring collaborators in to get buy-in, particularly from the leadership teams, about the complexity and the nature of the human experience of change and how to approach it and why it's so important. So, and I think that's because you can attach stories to personas, and the stories create this energy and create that human connection that switches on the light bulb for people. So if you need to get that sort of leadership buy-in to going slowly, to thinking more in depth, to really putting the employee at the center of this thinking, then I think personas are a brilliant way to do that in culture change programs, any sort of transformation program. In terms of the second bit of that question about how you can use personas to create more, was it innovative thinking?
Yeah.
I think absolutely they are. We talk about them being as the fuel of ideation or the fuel of creating better solutions, because the personas allow you to get deeper and deeper and deeper and really root you in the nature of the human experience in a really inelastic way. And what I mean by that, if you're working in a culture change program, it's really easy, or any program actually, any design program, without personas, you end up effectively with personas, but either they're self-referential, so you end up designing just for yourself or the team members, which might not be that diverse, or you have a very elastic perspective on who you're designing for. And that's because within your team, you're each going to have a perspective on who your end user is, but you're never really bringing it to the surface. So having a persona creates that clarity that allows you to go really deep, to really understand the human need, and then also to ideate, to generate solutions that actually hit that human need. So fundamental, I guess, in a word.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, where I've seen culture change efforts fail is because they have been kind of designed in that ivory tower without any real understanding of employees. And we're talking about culture change for me is actually really about behavior change, and to facilitate positive behavior change, you've got to start by understanding your audience, your people, and personas is one way you can do that, and we'd advocate using personas to do that. So I think absolutely fundamental to any culture change program, getting curious about the people who are involved in that change, and thinking about how you want the culture to change and what that means at a behavioral level. So I think a brilliant tool for culture change. I'm going to say that, but genuinely I've had great experience of using them with culture change programs. Okay, another question. got a question from Sarah here, who asked, are there key questions or factors that need to be in a persona or best practice, or does it vary by business? So I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to say on this one, but I'm going to come to you again, B, and you can kick this one off.
It goes back, I guess, to that 2 stages. If you all you do is you have that sort of demographic level of information, what do you do, how long have you been here, tell me about your family background, you know, what's your career, you get a very superficial persona that I've said it's not really persona at all, because it's kind of got any emotion in it. So for me, it's about asking the questions that allow you to get to what are the what is somebody trying to achieve, what inspires them, what motivates them, what are the pain points, what are the things that are getting in the way. So it's those sorts of questions that I would want to see in every persona set.
Yeah, and like we said last night on the webinar, you know, the personas are there to help you stand in the shoes of the people you're designing for, and it's a really fine balance between, you know, kind of getting overly complicated with them and having like a book which is no one's ever going to use, something that's so superficial, doesn't really give you anything to go on. So it's a really kind of fine line between that. But I think for me, you know, it absolutely varies by business, of course it does, but there is some kind of demographic data you want in there, of course you do, but more than that, for me, it's about the attitudes and behaviors. That's what really brings them to life. So I'd say, you know, think about the emotions, the attitudes, the behaviors, and just step back and say, is this really helping me to understand where this person or this group of employees this person is representing is coming from? So that would be my kind of my key advice on that one. Okay, got a couple more. Alicia has asked us what's included in the toolkits. I think that was in reference to Cara mentioned the toolkit last night. I'm guessing that's what Alicia was referring to. Alicia, if you're watching this, we don't answer the question, come back to us and you know, ask us again. But we have an employee experience toolkit that we use with clients, and this takes the best bits of design thinking and positive psychology, and walks you through a kind of a process and a journey really to help you design brilliant experiences for your people. And that's the toolkit that we used with the guys at Assyrian. And there are some brilliant tools in there, and we've included the tools that we've found to really add value to the process. So things like, you know, journey mapping, empathy maps we talked about last night, and it kind of holds your hand through those 3 diamonds that B mentioned last night. So the, you know, the scoping, the opportunity, and the solution space. So that in a nutshell is what's included in the toolkit. B, have you got anything to add to that I might have missed off there?
No, that was a good job.
Oh, brilliant. Love it. Cool. Okay. Have we got any more questions? I'm just looking down the list here. We've just got one more question. That's from James. And he said, what is the best way to collect data? I'll let you kick that one off again, B, and I'll add to it.
We're working through the phases, aren't you? So I think in the first instance, it's about working out what data you've got. And then thinking about, well, actually, what are the gaps? We know this, but what don't we know? And then working at how you might go and collect that data. And that's going to be a mix. It could be you might have some surveys, and surveys are useful. They have their limits. But actually, we do like quite a lot of sort of quant type data approaches as well. So I think yesterday, qual type data approaches. Yesterday we talked about observation, we talked about interviews. I like workshopping. I'm a bit nervous about focus groups, but I do like workshopping, and you can actually bring in some of the tools that we've already mentioned into that process as well, journey mapping, that sort of thing, or you can do them in different ways. So horses for courses, work out what you've got, what's missing, and then plan the best way to get it. And you might not get it all in once. As I said, this is an iterative approach. So you might get a best set that's good enough for now, but you know that you've still got gaps, and you know that you're going to continue building data and adding to your personas as you go along.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a build on that. I think the obvious place to go is the quant stuff, the survey, and that might be the right answer, but it might not be. And as you said, you know, qualitative really gives you the richness that the quant doesn't. Quant often raises more questions than it answers, which is fine, but you need the qual to really back up the, you know, the stories you're seeing come out of the quantitative results. The other thing I would say as well is, you know, most companies have a wealth of what we call secondary data. So secondary data is, you know, stuff that's already out there that you can use. Glassdoor, go and look on Glassdoor, see what people are saying about you, about your organization, not you personally, obviously. there'll be, most companies now will do some kind of engagement or experience survey. There'll be exit data. There'll be all sorts of places you can go and find information from. Your internal comms team might have really good stats in terms of, process metrics. So, what are people reading? What are they looking at? Look at the comments on the intranet. Look at Yammer if you've got Yammer. So many places where you can find really great, rich data. If you are kind of, leading the way in this world, and you've got a really great kind of analytics team that can do really super cool things with analytics and look at kind of big data, then brilliant. Use that, mine it, ask them some great questions, give them some hypotheses to explore. Most companies aren't quite there yet, but if you are, good for you, and make the most of that. But if you're not, something as simple as we said, of just sitting in the canteen, of chatting to people, or taking those people out for a bite to eat that have got strong opinions and views, and what are they saying, what are they talking about, what's the word on the street. So lots of different ways to collect data. And what I'd say is, don't rely on one method. Use different methods to collect data. So I think those were all the questions that we had. So many thank you to those of you that submitted the questions. Just before we finish, one last thing. We just wanted to give you a sense of how we can help if you are either just starting your persona journey, or if you're kind of midway through, not quite sure what to do with your personas, or even if you've got personas you're using, then we can help you at the other end. So Bea, do you want to share some thoughts on how we can help people if they want some help on developing or using their personas?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely, it's in those 4 bits. So if you haven't got them and you're thinking about them, but you need to build a business case, or you want to understand more about how you might use them, we can help you define your why. So sort of workshopping with HR, internal comms, L&D, and so on. We can obviously help you create your personas, drawing on the data that you've got, working out what data you haven't got, creating a process for helping to plug those gaps. We can absolutely put your personas to work. So if you've got them, they're a little bit dormant, maybe they're a little bit hidden in a sort of a hard drive somewhere, nobody's using them. We can actually bring them out and start to use them to tackle some of the problems or opportunities that you're working on, whether you're, for instance, redesigning a return to work from furlough. It would be an amazing way to use the personas that you've got. And we can also, if you started this process, we see this a lot, if you started this process and it's stalled or it's got bloated, so you've ended up with 550 different personas, we can help you re-energize that process as well. So I suppose, in short, wherever you are on this journey with personas, we can help you.
Brilliant, thank you, Bea. And the last thing I'd sort of add to that is that can be as light touch or as in-depth as you need and want. So some organizations, we just go in and we do some workshops. They will go away and do a lot of the research themselves and bring it back to us, and we'll help to kind of craft the personas and build the personas. Sometimes it's very light touch, and sometimes we go in, roll up our sleeves and do all the heavy lifting for you if that's a preference. So we can help in a multitude of different ways. Get in touch, we're always up for a conversation. So I really hope that was helpful. There'll be more coming on this topic, because clearly it's an area of interest for a lot of people. And, we've got lots to say on this topic, and we've got lots of great experience we want to share with you. If you've got experience yourselves, let us know. We'd love to hear what you're doing. We're always up for sharing case studies and best practice. So let us know what you're doing, and really hope this was helpful. And thank you for coming along to the webinar. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.